The camera pans across a silent military base hallway, its white floors gleaming under flickering lights. A lone janitor pushes his mop, humming softly to himself as soldiers in pressed uniforms rush past him without a glance. But when the base commander, a decorated 4-star general, stops, turns, and asks, "Hey, what's your call sign, son?" the old janitor freezes. He looks up slowly, his eyes shadowed by years of something deeper than exhaustion, something only soldiers carry. And when he finally answers, in a quiet, gravelly voice, "Iron Ghost." The mop handle slips from the general's hand. The hallway falls silent. Because everyone in that building knows that name. A legend they thought died 10 years ago, was standing right there in Janitor's boots. The story begins in a quiet corner of Fort Brighton Air Base, a place where echoes of jet engines mix with the hum of everyday life. Each night, Ethan Cole, a single father and janitor, swept the same corridors he once commanded. The smell of jet fuel, the roar of afterburners, they weren't just sounds to him. They were memories. Memories he'd buried beneath layers of silence and mop water. To the young recruits, he was invisible, the guy who cleaned up after their mess. To his little daughter, Lily, he was everything: a father, a storyteller, a hero she didn't know the half of. Every night, after finishing his shift, Ethan would pick up Lily from the neighbor's trailer. They'd eat dinner off 2 old metal plates, talk about her school projects, and then he'd tuck her in with a soft promise. "Someday, baby girl, I'll make it right." Someday. But that someday never seemed to come. Life had hit him hard. After his wife passed from cancer, Ethan left the Air Force. He didn't want pity. He just wanted peace. But peace had a strange way of eluding those who once danced with war. One morning, as he was buffing the floor near the command center, a group of officers walked by laughing about a classified mission. Ethan didn't mean to overhear, but one phrase stopped him cold. Operation Black Mirage. Iron Ghost took down that whole unit in '09. The words made him flinch. Iron Ghost. The name he'd buried. The ghost that refused to die. Later that day, a trainee accidentally dropped a cup of coffee near his boots and muttered, "Sorry, old man." Ethan just smiled, wiped it up, and whispered, "No harm done, soldier." But inside, he felt that old burn, the pride of a man who'd once been unstoppable. That night, the base held a ceremony for visiting veterans and active duty heroes. Ethan was asked to stay late for cleanup duty. He didn't mind. As the music played, he stood in the shadows, mopping up spills while the general gave speeches about valor and service. Until fate decided it was time for ghosts to rise again. When the general dropped his folder, Ethan instinctively reached down, handed it back, and said, "You might want to lock those up, sir." Classified. The general's brows furrowed. "How do you know that's classified?" Ethan hesitated, then just smiled faintly. "Because I helped write that mission report once." The general blinked. "Wait, what did you say your name was?" Ethan stood tall for the first time in years. "Cole. Ethan Cole." And that's when the room changed. The general's voice trembled. "Iron Ghost?" The mop clattered to the floor. Every officer in the hall turned. The legend they'd only heard about, the pilot who flew through enemy fire, saved 6 downed airmen, and vanished after the mission, was standing there in a janitor's uniform. For a long moment, no one spoke. You could hear the distant hum of a jet outside, like the heartbeat of memory itself. The general, still pale, stepped forward. "Sir, I thought you were gone." Ethan's voice was steady. "Most of me was." He explained, quietly, how after the crash, after losing his crew, he'd walked away from everything. How the medals and the glory meant nothing when you couldn't save the ones who believed in you. How his little girl was the only mission that still mattered. The general's eyes softened. "You carried a whole generation of men on your shoulders. And you did it without asking for a single salute." Ethan shrugged. "The world doesn't salute ghosts, General. They just forget them." But that night, the world remembered. The general motioned to the podium, his voice firm. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we honor a man who never asked for recognition, but earned it 100 times over. Call sign Iron Ghost. The crowd stood. Soldiers who once mocked the janitor now saluted him with trembling hands. Some had tears in their eyes. Others just stood silent in awe. Ethan didn't speak much. He just looked at Lily sitting in the front row, her eyes wide, and smiled. For the first time, she knew the truth. When he walked off the stage, the general stopped him once more. "Colonel Cole, the Air Force could use men like you again. What do you say?" Ethan looked down at his daughter's hand in his. Then up at the flag. "Sir, I already have my command. Right here." The general nodded a salute of respect, not rank. And as Ethan walked away, the camera pans to the Air Force emblem behind him, glinting under the hall lights. Because heroes like him don't disappear. They just choose to serve where they're needed most, even if it's with a mop, a promise, and a heart that refuses to quit.